All right. Good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. We're just going to wait here for a minute for people to start rolling in and see participants are joining us. Welcome, everyone, to the 2024 Hyperspace webinar series. It's our first webinar of the new year. How exciting. And I'm really glad that this one that we're starting it off right with our sister program, the Catalyst Accelerator. My name is Kelly Stafford. I am the Senior Program Manager for Hyperspace Challenge. And we are coming at you live from the Space Valley in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We also have the Catalyst Accelerator, which is in Colorado Springs. This is part of our ongoing series hosted by Hyperspace Challenge, Air Force Research Lab, and the U.S. Space Force to strengthen the connective tissue between diverse communities within the space industry. The goal of today's event is to learn about the Catalyst Accelerator. So we're really excited to have them there. Thank you all for joining us. And I'm going to turn it over to you guys. Kimar, if you wouldn't mind just starting off and introducing yourself.
Yeah, thanks, Kelly. And thank you for having us on here. We're so excited to be here. My name is Kamar Gartman, and I'm the program director for the Catalyst Accelerator. Allison is sitting with me here at Catalyst campus in Colorado Springs. Allison is, well, why don't you introduce yourself?
Yeah. So my name's Allison Booth, and I'm the program coordinator for the Accelerator. And so I do the marketing and events side of things for the program.
Yeah, thanks. We've got a couple other team members. Shay, you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm Shay Thomas. I am the Catalyst Accelerator Program Manager.
And we also have Captain Finley. You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hey, everyone. My name's Hanson. I am the government lead for the Catalyst Accelerator.
Yeah, so we have been running accelerators since 2018 here in Colorado Springs, almost as long as Hyperspace Challenge has been running. I think you guys started maybe the next semester after we got started on ours. So we've had an amazing collaborative relationship with the Hyperspace Challenge. Plus, we always have a lot of fun when we get together and when we do stuff like this. So it's fun to be part of this today. And thank you to your team for all the hard work you guys do as well on your side, making it possible for technology to get into the hands of the warfighter. So today we're talking about the Catalyst Accelerator, once again in operation since 2018. Before we get into some of what the Catalyst Accelerator is all about, I'd like to just ask if Captain Finley would be willing to maybe talk a little bit about why is the government doing accelerators like Hyperspace Challenge, Catalyst Accelerator, and what that benefit might be to the government.
Yeah, of course. So government and AFRL specifically within Space Vehicles Directorate is interested in having these accelerator programs, mainly to discover and mature small businesses that have technologies that have DoD applications. So we're focused on the Space Force here, but also across all the branches in the DoD. But another kind of main focus that we're looking at is making sure small businesses that come through our program, they're market focused in their area for commercial sector, but then they're also mission aware for the government sector. So bringing that awareness for what the Space Force is interested in and what our needs and requirements are, so industry can be working towards those goals and those partnerships. And that's mainly just kind of in a nutshell, like why the accelerators are important to AFRL.
And what kind of benefit have you been seeing from running accelerators?
Yeah, so I've been on the program for about a year and a half, almost 2 years now. So kind of what we've seen is just new partners to work with, whether that's new ideas coming through R&D agreements such as SBIRs with partners across the Space Force and the Air Force, and also just kind of the big picture of why, another reason why like accelerators are being hosted is to bring new capabilities, delivering to our Guardians and our Airmen. So that's kind of the reason, the big picture why we're looking to partner with new small businesses and help discover and mature them as well.
So you've been with us, you said almost 2 years now. So thank you for all the support. Usually you sit in the office right here with us. So we have
Yeah.
a collaboration between our team. We're lucky that way. We have you sitting in our office. What can you tell our audience a little bit of how does the government participate in the accelerators that you're sponsoring? I know you can talk to Catalyst Accelerator. How are you plugging in and pulling government in?
Yeah, so I think it's a bit similar too for Hyperspace, but Catalyst especially, they put a government lead in the position sitting with the program. So they put an active duty Space Force officer out to help run the program. And so additionally, kind of my job role is finding problem statement sponsors. So each one of our cohort is focused on a certain topic area within the Space Force. And so I kind of reach out to different government entities and, kind of keep the conversation going of what problems are you having? How would you like to see small business tackling these certain problems? And that's kind of how we source our problem statement sponsors. And those, just for example, our upcoming cohort is focused on space domain awareness, and we're partnering with the Space Domain Awareness TAP Lab under Space Systems Command for our next problem statement. And so that's just kind of an example of how we partner with government entities to run the program, get ideas and focus on certain topic areas depending on the need within the force. And additionally, within the program, when our cohorts are running, we bring in government entities within the topic area to provide use cases. So kind of explaining how potential technologies could fit within certain topic areas. So that varies wildly between what topic areas we're running and kind of who's available to come in and speak. But that's a huge help for the small businesses coming through our program.
Yeah, awesome. And you also have a navigator. You act as a navigator. Do you want to talk a little bit about that role too?
Yeah, so as a navigator, government navigator, so we also have commercial navigators, and I'm sure Kamar will get into that a little bit later. But as a government navigator, I, kind of help guide these companies coming through our program on where the technology might be a good fit, or who should they be partnering with, or who should they be talking with to help solve certain problems. And sometimes companies come in and it's a big challenge because maybe they're not the best fit for working with government. They might have a great commercial fit, but it's tough to find a potential government partner. And then there's also the flip side of that, where some tools that they have are almost like ready to be implemented and in operation as it's see fit, if you see it fit. But yeah, basically being a kind of advisor on the government side for companies coming through our program.
Well, and I'm gonna throw a question maybe that I hadn't, because I just thought of one, and so this is gonna be one that's coming out from left field. But
okay,
it's exciting because so many of the officers that come into our office and help us run this accelerator are new in their profession, kind of like you. They're not older like me. And it seems to do some amazing things with these officers' lives and changes the perspective. I'm just wondering what kind of effect on you personally as an officer of the Space Force does working with accelerators and innovation programs and small businesses like that are listening to this podcast, how does that affect you as an officer and the future that you see for Space Force?
Yeah, so I previously worked on a sustainment contract with a large prime contractor, and things moved kind of slow, and it was a little bit not the most exciting thing to work on. But when I got into this role, it was really motivating to see how hungry and willing to learn a lot of these small businesses are when they come through our program. And it kind of got me excited because there's companies that they're willing to step out of their comfort zone and do things that are challenging and innovative. So that really got me excited, like moving forward, knowing that it exists, it's out there, and it definitely got me motivated as well. So is that answer your question?
Yeah, because I would
Okay.
think it changes your perspective, right?
Oh yeah,
You're
definitely.
in this a totally different kind of a position than what you might be for the rest of your career, actually. Huh?
Yeah, and this job, it's been great. It's really opened my eyes, and it's been a fun couple years. But yeah, eventually I do have to go back to big Space Force and big
Real life,
positions.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, good. We've been happy to have you part of our team, and I'm excited that we've had a part in your development. So before we move on, I would like to tell you just a little bit about the Catalyst Accelerator. We have a mission statement, and the people you see on this screen have written this mission statement. So I'm going to share it with you so you have a good idea of the why behind what we're doing. The Catalyst Accelerator empowers non-traditional technology companies to accelerate their involvement in the national security ecosystem by providing connections, mentorship, and business development in a collaborative setting for a lasting national impact. That's what motivates all of us to get up every morning, to drive in here, to work with small businesses, to try to set up the government connections, which can be a little tricky at times. Thankfully, we have Captain Finley with us, but it is a challenge, and the work all of you on this podcast or webinar are interested in working with the government, most of you. And so you have a challenge before you, and our goal is to help you navigate those waters and do the best that you can. I'd like to turn it over to Shay. Shay is our program manager for the Catalyst Accelerator. And I'm going to have you first start by talking about Catalyst Campus, because that's where the Catalyst Accelerator is located. Can you tell everybody what in the world is Catalyst Campus all about?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. So Catalyst Campus, regardless of what the name implies, we are not a college campus. We just happen to have quite a few buildings. And so in Colorado Springs, we are located on the south end of downtown, and we are housed in a beautiful old railroad station. So you can see the brick building, or the brick walls behind Kamar and Allison and myself. And so what they've done is they've remodeled this. And so we started out as 3 buildings. We now have a total of 8 buildings in Colorado Springs. And we really exist to bring together government, small business, industry, academia, so that all of that mind melding and info sharing can happen. We do have a fantastic kitchen where we have a double kegerator. And so jokingly, but not jokingly, the amount of work that can be done over a slice of pizza and a beer is pretty astounding. And so we've got, we're just set up so that people can organically bump into each other and intertwine. Thursdays, so this morning happens to be pancakes with partners. And so we get everybody together in the kitchen and have pancakes and coffee. And so we do have some partners on campus like Lockheed Martin. We've got SAIC, we've got Linquist. We've got lots of small businesses on campus. Here in Colorado Springs, our local university is University of Colorado, Colorado Springs. So we call that UCCS since that's a mouthful. And we have a liaison who participates between UCCS and Catalyst Campus so that we can all stay intertwined and really just making sure that we know what's happening in the community. So much like Albuquerque, Colorado Springs is a space-based city. And so we have a fantastic community here. We've got Schriever Space Force Base, Peterson, we've got Buckley up the road. We've also got the Air Force Academy here in Colorado Springs, and we've got Fort Carson Army Base down south here. So it's just a fantastic place for people to come together and get to know each other and really start working on some of these hard problems.
Thanks, Shay. How long have you been part of the Catalyst Campus?
So I've worked at Catalyst Campus now for 5.5 years, something like that. And so I, along with Kamar, have really been able to watch the evolution of the campus. And when I first started here, I think we had 2 programs on the campus, which was CyberWorks and the Catalyst Accelerator. That has grown exponentially. In addition to growing here in Colorado Springs, we've been able to open 2 satellite offices. So we have one office in Ogden, Utah, who is they're out there supporting Hill Air Force Base. And then out in the National Capital Region in College Park, Maryland, we have another campus that's supporting the Forge for the Navy. So we've really seen a lot of lessons learned. We've seen a lot of growth. We've seen a lot of evolution.
Yeah, we have. I've been at the campus since 2016, and that was back when we had hot desks out here for small businesses. So it's always been a small business focused Catalyst campus, trying to connect small businesses with government. That's really what we're trying to do in the many different ways that we do it. And so one of those ways is the Catalyst Accelerator. And the Catalyst Accelerator is fully funded through AFRL-RV, the Space Vehicles Directorate, which is where Captain Finley is from. It's right down there near where Kelly and Hyperspace Challenge are located. We run 2 accelerators a year, typically. They are about 3 months long. We get a problem statement from the Space Force, and then we do a nationwide, sometimes even global search for companies that have a unique solution to that problem statement. Right now on catalystaccelerator.space, we have our current cohort open, so you can go there and figure it and find that. It has the problem statement there. Every accelerator we've run has the problem statements, the companies that we've brought in. So it's a great resource for you if you want to just know what were some of those problem statements and what were some of the companies that were brought in and how maybe you might be able to partner with some of those companies. I encourage you to go on to that website and find all that information. We also run an accelerator out in Ogden, and that one's more focused on digital solutions for the Air Force. So you could, if you're more of that kind of a slant towards your business, you might want to check out some of those accelerators as well. So once we get the problem statement, we get our companies in, then we run a 3-month program that culminates in a demo day at the end of it. And the person that sits in the room day in and day out with those companies, making sure that they get everything they can from the program, is Ms. Shay Thomas. So I am going to turn it back over to her to talk about what does the actual programming of an accelerator look like, and then we'll dive into some other pieces of the program as well. So back over to you, Shay.
Perfect, thank you. Yeah, so we run our program on 4 main pillars. So what I want to start with really quickly though, and it'll help kind of build the picture. The cohort is 3 months long. We are a semi-residential program though, and that means that any company that is chosen to participate in our accelerator has to travel to Colorado Springs for 2 weeks at a time. So they come for 2 weeks, go home for 2 weeks, come back for 2 weeks, and that goes on for the 3-month period. So while you're with us here in Colorado Springs, because we do have such a rich and robust community here, we're going to run the accelerator on 4 main pillars. So the first one, and to me, is equally important as it is meeting with government, is your business development. So how do you position yourself? How do you talk about your technology? Can you explain what you do to your 80-year-old grandmother and she's going to understand it? And we really start diving into that because sometimes technologists, they just don't have the words to say what they do so that in layman's terms, everybody else understands. And the number of doors that opens is astounding. So we will help build up your business side. We bring in all of what I call the helpers. So anybody from R&D tax credits to IP strategy, really all along your path of doing government contracting and building yourself as a small business. The second pillar then is customer discovery, and that is going to include government and industry. So I was reading some of the chat here. I know some of the folks who are on this call, you know, Lockheed Martin is a fantastic partner sometimes. Maybe that's where you need to be partnering rather than trying to just dive headfirst into government. And so we're going to really help the small businesses make the connections that they need. So we'll bring in warfighters. We talk brass to boots all the time. So we want you to be able to hear from users. We want you to hear from acquisition. We want to hear from contracting, hearing from the generals on what the strategy is. Where are we trying to go? And then we do a lot of networking. Again, beer in the kitchen. It is fantastic, the amount of stuff that you can get done. So we do a lot of networking events. We do happy hours, we do community days, we do demo day like Kamar just brought up. And then the fourth one has already been touched on a little bit, and that's our navigators, our mentors. And so you'll have Captain Hanson Finley if you're selected for the program as your government navigator. And then on the commercial navigator side, those are typically going to be mid to large companies, and they're there to help you understand the national security arena, what that landscape looks like. They're there to help you make connections. And, you know, I tell this story all the time, but we had a cohort that was very, excuse me, it was very hardware based. And one of the small businesses in the cohort was having such a hard time with their supply chain. And so the business that was their commercial navigator reached back to their company and said, hey, can one of the supply chain managers come and talk to them? And they were able to help them come up with a plan to overcome some of those challenges. So the navigator mentor role is an integral part of our program. As far as who applies to the program, we're really looking for small businesses with an actual technology that applies to the problem. That might seem like a duh statement, I guess, but you know, we're not looking for consulting companies. We're not looking for companies that can just build whatever the government wants. We're looking for innovative technology that can apply specifically to the problem set that we're looking at. The current problem set that we're looking at is space domain awareness, and we're looking very specifically at software solutions. We're looking for US-based companies or companies and that are also run by US persons. That's going to really allow those companies to start plugging into the SDA TAP Lab pretty immediately. So we're looking for companies with these innovative software solutions to help in space domain awareness. As Kamar's already mentioned, you can find all of that information at catalystaccelerator.space. The application form is there, and you can get that information put in.
All right, well, great. Thanks, Shay. We are on a timeline with that too. So January 22nd is the applications will close. So if you want to get in there, you've got to get in there pretty quickly. We're also starting to get our navigators together. I'm going to be reaching out to potential navigators within the next day or two to be sure that we've got some great navigators that can help our companies both. Well, I'm going to be doing more of the commercial side of that. So certainly happy to have people reach out if interested in the navigator portion of it. So Shay, you've been running the accelerator program now as the program facilitator for 3 or 4 cohorts. Can you tell us what do you see that small businesses like those listening today, what do they gain from being part of an accelerator? Why would you say, hey, you need to get in here and do this, even though it's a very intense program and most whine and cry all the way through it, but at the end, they're always like, I'm so glad I did it. Can you tell us why?
Yeah. So I think there's a number of reasons. The biggest one that we see is, you know, knocking on the government's door is hard sometimes. It is just hard to get the government to answer the door, answer the email, talk about what their problem sets are, right? And some of that is surrounding just being overtasked. Some of that is surrounding classification. Some of that it's just hard. And so our goal in the accelerator, and we do a really good job of it with having all of the government support like Captain Finley, is we reduce that customer discovery time that would typically take 2 years into 7 weeks. And so that's a pretty huge feat. You know, the other piece, again, the positioning of your company is so invaluable when you're talking to people. It is so important to understand exactly what your value proposition is. It's incredibly important to know what your go-to-market strategy is. Who is your customer going to be? And I think one of the biggest things that we've seen come out of this accelerator, and we hear it every single cohort, is, oh my gosh, listening to that exact problem set allowed me to pivot my technology to fit an actual problem. Because, you know, as a technologist, what we tend to see is you have a really great idea, you create this really fantastic product, and maybe that's super applicable in the commercial world, but when you're coming over to the Department of Defense, It might need to be tweaked a little bit, or you might find that it already exists. And so we have seen companies save themselves, I mean, hundreds of thousands of dollars in R&D, where they're able to just say, I now know exactly what problem I'm going to try and solve, and I know exactly how to apply my technology to that. And so, and again, you know, building your Rolodex, some of this will be friendship, some of this will be partnership, some of this will just be plain fun. But it is a massive benefit to you know, to being handed all of these connections. And so you know, over and over again, we hear from companies that it has absolutely changed the outlook of their company. It's absolutely changed the trajectory of their company. And as individuals, it's just made them stronger leaders. So, you know, overall, we have seen fantastic success for our companies, and you know, the program is intense. I want to foot stomp this. I was told by a company at the end of our last accelerator, you know, when you walk into a college course and they say, you're not going to be able to skate through this class, and then you skate through that class. This is not that class. This is a very intense program. You are in person. We are promptly in programming from 8:30 a.m. until at least noon, and then you're meeting one-on-one with each of those experts in the morning. So it is not a walk in the park. If you think that this is going to be a walk in the park, I'm going to assure you it's not. But it is worth it. And what you put into this program, you will absolutely get out of it.
So Shay, thank you. I have one more question for you. And of course, we're way off script right now, but I think this is really interesting stuff. Can you give us just like, because I know after every week we do a survey, what worked, what didn't work, what are we going to continue on? And since we've done 12 accelerators this way, there are obviously some of the sessions that small businesses are like, that changed my business completely. Can you give us just kind of a little picture, a little peek into the programming of maybe one or two of those kind of sessions so people know what exactly am I getting when I get into an accelerator? What's one of those magical moments for us?
Yeah, so I would say number one is the Warfighter panel. So we work really, really hard to bring together, you know, a bunch of the operators that happen to be within whatever problem set we're looking at. So currently it'll be for space domain awareness. We'll have people coming in from Delta 2. We'll have people coming in, you know, clearly from the space, from the SDA TAP Lab. And the beauty there is that you now have face-to-face time with users, and you can ask them questions like, you know, in a perfect world and you had a magic wand, like what would your perfect solution be so that your day-to-day went off without a hitch? You didn't have to worry about anything. You knew exactly where everything was. And the answers that you get from these folks is amazing. And I will truly say it's invaluable. It allows you to really understand what a user and an operator is going through on a day-to-day. And so that one is always a big one. You know, and then community day events. So the community day event really changes throughout each accelerator. But the team who you see here online, it works really hard to make sure that whatever event we're putting on, it's applicable to that particular cohort. And so maybe it's a cohort that's, you know, we've had them where they're already very well embedded in the Department of Defense, and they're trying to learn how to commercialize. And so the demo day event then looks more at commercialization. Who do you need to know? Who do you need to meet? Maybe it's a group of very small startups and they just don't have a whole lot of experience in any of that. So how do we build that cohort up? So there's probably 10 other sessions in my head, but those, I would say those are two that they just have a very important impact on the cohorts.
So one last question, and then we'll highlight Allison over here. The last question, Shay, can you give some insight into the value and the power of collaboration within the cohort?
Yes.
What's that look like?
Yeah, so, we're here to, of course, support the US warfighter. We want to transition technology. We want to make the men and women's lives easier that are protecting ours. We want to build up small businesses. We want to see our companies succeed, all companies. But of course, we're focused on the 8 per cohort. But what we really, really want to see is partnerships and collaboration and the sharing of information. So each cohort, it has evolved and changed over time, but each cohort, I make sure that we have a dedicated, probably 8 to 10 hours of collaboration time within the accelerator cohort itself. Because we run our program on niche topics, we bring in companies that are complementary to each other rather than just putting a bunch of competitors in a room. Collaboration doesn't happen there. So it's absolutely my favorite part of the accelerator. And so just this last accelerator, we actually had 6 companies that went through that cohort. And every single company explored, how do we connect? How do we partner? How do we make a stronger solution by coming together? And not all 6 of them did it, but there are partnerships over here and over here and over here. And each company is going to have a pretty good understanding of where their technology sits in that particular problem set. But to start to branch out and understand, well, that company really understands this piece of it, and that company understands this piece of it. And then just on the individual level, I mean, if we have people who come in who have been very successful at raising rounds, that's just a huge amount of knowledge that gets shared with the other companies in the room. How do you do great fundraising? And how do you do fundraising from the entrepreneur's point of view rather than just appealing to the investor's point of view? Maybe you have somebody who's really, really great at writing proposals and they talk about how their win rate is so high. So the collaboration within the cohort is something that is very important and something that is built into the actual curriculum because we find it that important.
Yeah, we do. And as I think I've been working in this field for, almost 8 years, and I'm seeing more and more of the opportunities that come down the pike are asking for collaborative solutions.
Yep.
And so this is what's exciting in accelerators is you find those people that you can come alongside of and together write something or propose something, and you have a team-based solution. And it's the government is excited about that. I've been seeing it in different levels, not just DoD, but state government, even an accelerator opportunity that I was looking at recently is like, now who are you going to collaborate with? And it's like, oh my gosh, it's all over. So
Yeah.
Accelerators are exciting in that way. So thank you, Shay.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to switch the topic real quickly. We have one last person to hear from on this little panel, and that would be Allison. Allison here runs our logistical piece of it. She does the catering and the events and the marketing and all of that behind the scenes stuff that has to happen in order for our program to be successful. Shay often says, the accelerator doesn't exist without Allison. So I would foot stomp that as well. Allison's a huge part of what we do here. And so I'm going to have you talk a little bit about, Allison, why do we as an accelerator and accelerators across the nation, why do we put so much emphasis on events and networking? What's the value do you see in that as you pull these together for our companies?
Yeah, so I would say that networking and events, it's one of the 4 pillars of the program, of course, but it's a great way for our companies to organically bump into people of interest and people that can help them grow and kind of scale their business. So it's a very, very important part of our program. And it's why we have the happy hours that we do. We have alumni events. I'll get into those a little bit later, but and our community days and stuff as well. But it's all part of the program, and it's all very important because it's all there to assist our companies and add value to them and what they have to offer.
Awesome. So go ahead, jump in. What are the events and what would you like to tell us about the events of the Catalyst Accelerator or day in the life of somebody? What's the benefit? Whatever you have to say, let's hear it.
Yeah, so the benefit I would say is definitely that dedicated workspace that our companies get while they're here in the program. And because Catalyst Campus is such a collaborative environment, it is very easy for our companies to become embedded in that ecosystem while they're here. It helps them bump into those end users and those subject matter experts that Shay brings in on a day-to-day basis. And it helps them make those connections with other small business partners. And then even beyond the events that the accelerator has going on, the campus holds events as well. So we really encourage our companies to attend those events. So they host like industry nights and other networking events. And those provide value as well. So I would say that's definitely probably one of the biggest benefits of being on campus and being a part of the program. And then events, as far as that goes, Shay touched on some of these already, but we host 3 happy hours per cohort to help our companies bump into those people of interest and get completely embedded in the Colorado Springs space community. Our happy hours are usually very well attended, and our companies are very pleased with the mix of industry, government, academia, other small business partners that they're able to make those connections with and find synergies with. Our alumni events are also really important for our companies because they provide a community of support that extends beyond the duration of the program. So we've hosted small get-togethers for our alumni. We did a garden party one year. And this year, we're excited to be partnering with Hyperspace Challenge to host an event we're calling Space Venture Connect. And it's for all of our alumni companies. So we're really looking forward to that one as well.
Is that April 7th?
Yes, April 7th.
Here in Colorado Springs?
Yes.
Yeah,
Mhm.
perfect.
Yep. And then for our community day events, Shay, of course, kind of mentioned this already, but they do kind of vary from cohort to cohort. But so for example, in our defensive cyber operations cohort last spring, in 2023, we hosted a rapid fire resource panel where the companies had a chance to hear from and meet with a bunch of local small business owners and just hear about the services they offer and see if there are any opportunities for partnership. We've also had DoD innovation panels. We did a space-wide community days event. That was actually before I was on the team, but Kamar and Shay can probably speak to that.
That was
one
a heavy
little bit
lift.
Yeah. And then of course our demo day event, which is definitely the biggest, and it's probably my favorite event that we host as a program because it's the culmination of the company's hard work and the reimagining and the shifting of their technologies. So we get to hear how the companies have refined their messaging when they speak about their technologies. And each company also gets to film a 5-minute demo day pitch video as well that gets showed to the demo day audience, but also they get to take that home at the end of the program as just a tangible asset. And then during the event, they get to network with those face-to-face end users and operators. So it's an awesome time for everybody, and it provides a lot of value for our companies.
Yeah, so one more thing, Allison, I know companies might be thinking, so what does it actually, I mean, Shay's given us a little bit of peek into the programming piece of it.
Yeah.
But I know we do a lot for our companies, even outside of just the programming piece. Do you want to tell us just kind of the day in the life of a cohort member, what kind of benefits they get from just being part of the accelerator?
Yeah, so I know I mentioned the alumni community that's there even beyond you know, the day-to-day programming piece. And I think that's definitely a really strong community that kind of helps our companies just have those connections even after the program has ended. But on a day-to-day basis, I would say you know, the companies hear from these subject matter experts in the morning from various backgrounds. And then in the afternoon, they have the opportunity to meet one-on-one with those subject matter experts as well. So the days are pretty packed, but we also have cohort dinners that we do with our companies. Those are typically on Wednesday nights. Those provide a lot of value and a lot of fun for our companies too. And then on Thursdays, we do our happy hour events. So they're like Shay said, the days are very packed, but it's a lot of fun.
So do you all remember when you were in school and the teacher's like, what's your favorite subject? And everybody raised their hand and said recess. I used to be a math teacher and it'd just be like, what about math? You know, isn't math your favorite subject? And it never was. So when we put out these surveys, you know what everybody always says? The best part of the day was that catered lunch. Oh my goodness, that was so delicious. And you're just like, so she's the one that puts all these catered lunches together and they're pretty phenomenal. Second place then is probably the programming. Maybe third place is everything else. So yeah, so Allison does a great job pulling together parts of the program that just put the frosting on the cake. So we're excited about that. So I would like to encourage you, just one final thought, and then I'll turn it over to you, Kelly. But there are many ways that companies can get involved. If you're a small business and you're like, I have a space domain awareness technology, apply for the program because we'd love to have your name in there. If you are a larger company, maybe a middle tier company, or you have expertise in space domain awareness, we're looking for navigators. So that's a way that you could plug in to be part of the program. I'm happy to entertain emails from you if you have interest in that. My email is kamar.gartman@catalystcampus.org, and someone can drop that in there, or I'll drop it in later. We're also looking for companies to be sponsors. We have session sponsors, financial donations that we pretty much pass through us and give it to the companies, the small businesses, to help them offset the cost of their travel and the time that they have in Colorado Springs. So if you're a larger company and you're like, you know, I'd like my name on this accelerator and I would like to be a support to these companies, then please reach out to me for that. We're always looking for subject matter experts. We're looking for people to attend our events. So there are many ways that you can get plugged into the accelerator and be a part of what we do here. And I'm happy to share that information if you just shoot me an email. So that's it. That's what we wanted to talk about today. So I'm going to turn it back over to you, Kelly, and see if you have any questions for us.
Absolutely. Thank you guys. That was awesome overview. Very, very thorough. You guys are amazing. And you guys, everybody on the call, I cannot tell you enough how many great things I hear about Catalyst and what a great program it is. And you would be silly not to look into it and see if you can't take part in it. Okay, so we do have a few questions here. This one is for Nicholas Fahim from PRL 11. He's actually one of our Hyperspace alumni. And he says, we do think our novel technology has huge potential for the DoD and specifically SDA, but there's a but. We are a US-based startup with US persons, but we do not have a facility clearance. Is that something that Catalyst can help accelerate?
So that's a great question. Can we help accelerate you getting a facility clearance? Maybe not, just with the amount of paperwork and all of the stuff that goes behind that. But, and there is a but, we will bring in experts who can help you with that. So one of the sessions, and this is one of the sessions that was rattling around when Kamar was asking about like mind-blowing sessions, is talking to somebody who specializes in helping companies get facility clearances. So I want to make it very clear that our program is a public program. We are an unclassified program. There will not be any classified conversations that happen. Our program does not promise contracts, but we will absolutely bring in the experts who can help get facility clearances or who can help, you know, it is a DIY thing. You can do it DIY or you can hire out for facility clearances. So that'll be something that's included in the program.
Perfect. Great. Okay, and the next one is from Stan Shaw. Can you talk about the ideal size and maturity level for applicants?
Yeah, that's a great question. So we are typically looking for companies with under 50 employees. Now, that's not a hard and fast rule. Nobody's going to be disqualified because they have 72 employees. The SBA defines a small business as 500 or less. Some NAICS codes, it's even 1,000 or less. It's important to us, though, to make sure that we're helping companies who are going to get the most out of the program, that they're not just here for government contacts. And so that is typically 50 employees or under. We're going to help with things like government contracting and how to set up your time cards and stuff like that. So what we have found over the last 5.5 years is that we're in that 50 range or below. We're also looking for the technology itself to be a TRL 4 to 7. Again, not a hard and fast rule. We've had TRL 1, we've had TRL 9 come through the program. They've all been successful. But typically 4 to 7 is really where companies will get the most out of the program. Like I said, we are currently looking for US-based companies run by US persons. And so that's a particular for this cohort. It's not for every cohort. And then we are, I was going to say another one and I just lost it. So that's the ideal size for the companies.
So Shay, I want to piggyback off of that. Can you share with the companies who within the company is the best person to send to the accelerator?
Yeah, so this is a big one. We have run this program for a very, very long time, and I can tell you without a doubt that sending somebody from the C-suite or a business development VP or director of business development is going to be the right person. Time and time again, we have companies send software engineers, or maybe they're a VP of engineering. Maybe they are, you know, a direct report to the CTO, but they don't have any say in how the business runs. And I'm going to tell you right now, that is not the person you want to send. We need the person here who has direct decision-making authority within the company. When we don't have those people, the benefit for the company is significantly lowered. The outcome for the individual who is here is significantly lowered. So it is imperative, and it's going to be something that we are much more strict on for the upcoming cohorts, is that it needs to be somebody in the C-suite or it needs to be a director of business development. We will always invite companies to have their, you know, general counsel call in if they happen to have that while we're doing some of the legal sessions. We're going to allow you to call in your accountant while we have the accountants talking. We're not asking that the person who is here wear every single hat and be able to participate in that. We will give you many options actually to have other folks come in. But the person who is here, the one person who goes through the program for the entire time, needs to be somebody with direct decision-making authority for the company.
Thank you.
Yep, absolutely.
Perfect. So I think that's all of the audience questions. I had a question for you guys. So people applying, what are some tips, some common pitfalls or things to avoid in the application process?
Yeah, so when you open the application, you're going to be given very specific directions, like use 12-point font and 1-inch margins. Don't stray away from that. We are not capable of reading 4-point font. Please keep it to 2 pages. That allows us to really understand what you're doing. And I will say the ¡1 biggest pitfall that we see is that companies do not explain how their technology applies to the problem at hand. That we have read about some cool technologies that had absolutely nothing to do with the accelerator that we were putting on. So, you know, if you've never done business with the government, you probably don't know exactly what delta in the Space Force your technology is going to apply to, and that's okay. But if you have a technology that fits within space domain awareness and it's a software solution, we really need to understand how you are applying that technology to that problem. And that is hands down the biggest pitfall that we see, is that we get proposals on just technologies, and unfortunately, because we are relying on experts within the government, experts within industry to look at these, it becomes a matter of respecting their time, making sure that the evaluations that they're doing are appropriate for the task at hand. So make sure that you do that. I will remind everybody, it's all over the application, but there are no NDAs in place. So please do not, under any circumstance, go into your secret sauce in this proposal. I think sometimes people think because it's going to a military program that they can be a little more open about it. Please remember that there's no NDAs in place. And try to explain your technology at a level where all of us non-technologists can understand what it is that you're applying to.
I would like to add to that too, and it's insinuated in what Shay just said, but I just want to foot stomp it, because we've had several companies that come through that say, tell me what you need and I will create it. And we are not going to bring you into our accelerator. We're not looking for companies that don't have a solution, but are looking for the problem so that they can create a solution. That's not what this accelerator is for. There's other programs for that kind of a focus. Ours is for companies that say, I have something, it's unique. I have a commercial part of that, and I think I can expand this, and what I have can bring value to the DoD as well. So we want someone like that. We've had companies that have applied and applied and applied with that same process, that same concept of whatever you need, we'll make it. No, we won't bring you in. Likewise, we do not bring in consulting companies. Because again, you don't have the technology that we can say, here is a solution, or here is a piece of this enterprise solution that we're pulling together from all of our cohort companies. So I just wanted to add that in there.
Hey, that's great. Yeah. I know it's a hard problem knowing, you know, bringing that solution, but it is definitely important that you need to bring a solution as opposed to just saying I can adapt to whatever you need. So yeah. All right. So I think we are at time now, and thank you all so much for being here and for sharing your information and for giving us such a great overview of your program. And as was mentioned earlier, we do have the event that we're putting on together on April 7th, and that is before the Space Symposium, and be a great chance for VCs to come and meet some of our, you know, cohort members, and just really excited to do that with you guys. Our next virtual event, our next webinar is scheduled for January 25th, 2024. Same time, same place. We will be discussing pathways for our international companies to do business with the U.S. government. That is something from our last cohort that we realized needed more information. We needed to do some follow-up on that. So providing that specifically for those companies that are international that would love to do business with the DoD, with the United States government. And we'll be speaking with Major Jake Singleton of the United States Space Force, among others. Look for that webinar link in our follow-up email. And also, you know, make sure that you're checking in with hyperspacechallenge.com just to get that information and sign up for our mailing list if you're not already, which I think if you sign up for this webinar, you are. But just important to stay in touch and in communication with us, because we are in our planning stages for our next cohort. So you'll want to be keeping up with that information and learning more as it comes. So Also, our YouTube channel, we have just started. I think we have 5 subscribers. Come on, guys, we need more subscribers. So please go to YouTube and subscribe. We're trying to get an audience there. That way you'll be up to date. You'll get all of the access to all of these webinars. That's where we will house them. So be a great resource for you as you're, as we go along and we start adding more topics. So if you have an idea for future webinars, if you would love to sponsor a webinar or get involved with Hyperspace Challenge, please contact us. There will be a survey as you close out from this webinar. So please take just 5 seconds. I mean, it's not 5 seconds. I'm exaggerating. Maybe 5 minutes to answer those few questions. Give us an idea how you liked this one. If you want to see more, if you would, whatever topics would be of interest to you. Also, let us know if you're interested in sponsoring. So we're doing that. We would love to have you involved in that way as well. So I think that's all for today. Thank you all so much again, and you all have a great day. It's going to be a good day. So we'll see you again next, whatever Thursday it is, the 2 Thursdays from now. So, all righty, guys.
All right, thanks, Kelly.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.